Does size really matter? Of your mid-bass enclosure, of course. What's up, podheads? Today we're going to talk about the volume of a mid-bass enclosure. Is it necessary? How big does it need to be? And what does it actually do? And to test this out, I've got two different speakers, one with a high QTS and one with a low QTS. The QTS is a TS parameter that basically dictates the natural low-end roll-off of a speaker. A higher QTS will have a much steeper slope, whereas a low QTS will have a much smoother slope. And we're going to test enclosure volumes with my tube. The purpose of the tube is to provide an adjustable volume behind the speaker so we can see how the frequency response changes with the change in volume. The main thing we want to look at is, can an enclosure improve the mid-bass of a speaker? This is the low Q speaker with the piston all the way out, meaning the volume's maximum. And now for the same test with the high Q speaker. Minimum volume. Looking at the data of our two speakers in the large volume measurement, we see our high Q speaker in brown and our low Q speaker in green. By decreasing the volume all the way to near zero on the low Q speaker, we kind of notice not that much of a change. We see a little bit of an increase in the high pass crossover and a very tiny boost in the output at the lower frequencies, but it's only about a decibel gain. Now looking at our high Q speaker, decreasing the volume tells a much different story. Not only do we increase the high pass crossover of this speaker, we do gain a little bit of a boost in the low end output. However, the frequency that boost occurs is higher than the lowest frequency this speaker can play. So what's happening when you change the volume of a speaker enclosure? Basically, by making a speaker enclosure smaller, you are increasing the resonant frequency of that speaker system. So what happens to the frequency response of the high Q speaker as we decrease the volume? You can see that the high pass crossover increases in frequency. You do see a boost in the low end output. However, the frequency at which that boost occurs increases. So the speaker's playing a higher frequency, it's not playing lower. Same thing occurs for the low Q speaker. As we decrease the volume, the high pass crossover increases. We get a little bit of improvement in the low end response by making that slope steeper, but overall everything starts to play higher frequencies. Also note how sensitive the volume change is. So what do we learn from all this? Basically, installing a mid-bass speaker in an enclosure doesn't really help a whole heck of a lot. It actually hurts a little bit more than it helps. Not only is it a lot of work to make an enclosure for a speaker, but the amount of gains you get just really aren't worth it. So unless your speaker is super special, installing a speaker in an infinite baffle or a speaker pod is probably the best way to go for most applications. I'm Brandon from Custom Speaker Pods, hoping to help you have a better car stereo. I hope this helped. If you got any questions, hit me up. Boosh!